Expansion.
There's anything to do with paranormal activity or scary movies or just movies in general, but definitely anything to do with a ghost. Yeah, gaming. We don't want to. I don't want to encourage bad habits like gaming, brother. But anyway, ghosts. What's the story? Go ahead, please, Paulie.
So, I was stalking your Facebook.
Yep.
And I came across this photo which had a bit of a ghost story
Behind us.
I want to hear more about it, so let me just bring that.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you you know what, if you're going to own and operate a restaurant that's 150 years old in Australia.
Yep. It's the old Penfold site you were saying.
It is, and it actually dates back to the old Minchin family, which is the famous Minchinberry champagne. It was very famous in the 70s and 80s.
Sure.
And interestingly, that Minchinberry estate, which is now a housing estate, Minchinberry Winery, was the first winery in Australia.
Oh, wow.
They were the first vineyards in Western Sydney, in Australia.
And the suburb's called Minchinbury, right?
And it's called Minchinbury.
Sure.
And even the streets, our restaurant is on Barossa Drive. You know, there's Saturn Avenue and you know, Cab Sav. You know,
okay, so it's all wine related, yeah.
So then what happened was the Minchin family sold out and the Penfolds family bought the Minchinberry wineries. And then in the early 80s, there was one of three fires that had burnt down that place. And our restaurant and the shed next door were the only two surviving buildings left in the whole winery. Everything else was destroyed. And then it became a restaurant. So it's a heritage listed site. But there's a lot of ghost stories that come with it. And since COVID and the last 6 months that I've been more personally involved in the restaurant to try and see what we're going to do to hold on to a fine dining restaurant in a tough economic market now, you know, Chanel and I have experienced a lot of, you know, crazy paranormal experiences that I was not a believer and now cannot explain. You know, a lot of the things that I could talk about. And Lauren, who was running it beforehand, had also experienced some things that have put the fear of God into her about, you know, things that we cannot explain, things that we've seen and experienced. Cannot explain it. But that photograph there, as unclear as it is, given the fact that it's taken at about 11:30 p.m. and outside the restaurant, was, you know, and one small story is about 10 to 9 every night, 8:50 p.m. All our guests that are dining in the restaurant have experienced one haunting thing that happens, and where there's one particular light in the whole restaurant. It's all connected on one circuit. They've all been replaced. We've changed it now. That starts flickering at 8:50 p.m. exactly at 8:50 p.m. every single night, seven nights, 365 days a year.
Wow.
And it cannot be explained. We've had Sparkies look at it. We've done everything, and it just happens. But that particular night, Dennis was leaving the restaurant. He'd closed up and shut it down. He'd heard some noises downstairs. Didn't want to go down to the cellar, and just switched the lights off. And he had, you know, when you lock up our restaurant, you've got to switch the lights off at the back, and then walk through this dark restaurant till you get to the front, and then close the front door. Then you go to the alfresco area and close it. After he'd closed it all, he heard a noise, and then he's walked down the side of our car park area and looked inside to see the full image
silhouette
of
a person.
Of a person inside the restaurant. No one in there, and he watched it and saw it moving, and then took the picture as quick as he could, and then ran for his life.
Sure. So 8:50 p.m. is when we need to be there, Paulie, with all of your Geiger counters.
So here's the plan. We go 7:30. We get our food and eat.
That's exactly right.
And then we sit back and relax.
Yeah.
And wait for the.
And I give you some of that haunting wine, and and you see, but that was, to me, that's without any doubt, that's living proof. I mean, but we've got many other stories.
Speaking of wine.